States and sugar for sands, one nation, then goes on. Okay, this is October 21st, 2024, County Council, Starke County Council. We are present in quorum, and we have Tony Black online. The first order of business is this special meeting first, meet with the airport and continue the discussion about their budget and the approval of their budget. We did receive more budget information, including a balance sheet via email. I'll defer to the council if you want to open up the discussion.
Where is the representative?
Right here.
Oh, okay, well, somebody ought to come up here then. So we can talk about this.
I'd like to, I have a sheet here. I'd like to discuss things a little bit here, or not discuss, but I'd like to read to do some education here. First of all, I want to thank the Starke County Council for the great job they do in this county in keeping the taxes reasonable. Last meeting, we had a situation where situation of nepotism was brought up. That situation was resolved that night. The person was suspended. Later that week, they were let go. I'd like to introduce everybody that's involved with the Starke County Aviation Board. First, the attorney is Anthony Novick. He's not here. Tammy Bailey is our treasurer. She's right here. Next to Tammy is, I'll get to that in a minute. Our airport manager is Pam Beharry. Now, the appointed, Starke County Aviation Authority Board is appointed by the county commissioners. The president is Jim Long. Lionel Smead is right here. Carl Goodrich, are you here? Okay, he did not show up. And I'm the assistant. Carl Goodrich is the secretary. I'm Lee Smith, the assistant secretary. We have a gentleman by the name of Mark Shillington from Wolpert, and he's out of Indianapolis, and his job is involved to get the federal grant money that we have for the projects that take place at the airport. I've been on the board for about 9 years. I moved to Starke County in 1987, and I've been a tenant at the airport since 1989. The other board members, some of them have grown up in this county, moved into this county around the same time I did. A little history on the airport. The airport started out behind 5 Star. In 1973, they closed that airport down, which was behind 5 Star, and they moved it to the present location north of town. That airport brings in a lot of revenue to this county. We have people who fly to the airport and go to the restaurants in town. We have people that could fly in and go to Mark Bailey's. We just had a few weeks ago 6 old warbirds that came in, and they rented houses at the Bass Lake B&B, and they were doing some formation flying work. We have a customer here just a few weeks ago who came up from Winnemac and was flown out of Starke County Airport on a very expensive corporate jet. And that jet came to Starke County because the runway in Winnemac is too short, as well as the runway at Plymouth being too short. So she had to fly out of Starke County. We have 36 airplanes that are based at the Starke County Airport. We have 6 businesses at the Starke County Airport. We have the airport that sells fuel, both Jet A and Hunter Low-Lead. We have Lutheran Air and Air Evac, which is a medical helicopter that takes care of Starke County and the surrounding areas for anybody who needs to be airlifted by a helicopter. We have Dunning Aerial Service, which is a crop duster. We have American Care Corp, which is another crop duster. They have their own hangars out there. We have iFly Indiana, which is a paraglider where you put a motor on your back, you have a parachute, and you literally are like Superman flying around. That gentleman teaches out there. And we have Aerolife Aviation, which is an aircraft broker. She does a lot of really nice videos on YouTube. And the backdrop on a lot of those videos are actually Starke County Airport. She has a facility here at this airport. She has one up in Minnesota and also one out in San Diego, California. The Starke County Airport gets audited by the federal government on any project over $175,000. The state audits the airport every 4 years. The FAA comes in on a routine basis to check the airport to make sure that it meets all the aviation requirements. There are 5,000 paved airports in the United States. We are one of those. 1987 is when the airport authority was started, put into VM. We have never borrowed any money for the projects that have taken place at the airport. We have the way the airport works out there, and this is why we're here today, because there's a lot of misunderstanding of how the revenues work out there at the airport. So for instance, we are the federal government will pay up to 95% of any project that we're doing out there. The state pays 2.5 and the airport authority pays 2.5. So for instance, a project that's being in place right now to happen between now and spring is an AWAS system, which is a system that gives the pilots the weather at that airport. And it's very important if your approach is to have that information. That system is $269,000. Well, the government's going to pay, federal government's going to pay 95% of that. The state will pay $13,000, and the airport authority will pay $13,000. A few years ago, we had the runway lengthened 106 feet or 601 feet to 5,001, and that's a requirement for the insurance companies that insure corporate jets. They prefer that length of runway. That runway was only lengthened 601 foot, and it cost $1.4 million to just lengthen the runway that much. All kinds of federal requirements that go into doing that. So we have what we've also called a CIP, Capital Improvement Plan. It's a 5-year plan. I have a copy of that with us here. We can give to the board. Plans are to be in the future right now is the AWAS taxiway to the grass runway, a bigger ramp, and also another set of T hangars out there. The funding for the Starke County Airport is done through a tax levy here, and our money that we get through the tax levy is for last year was $383,000. That is a tax rate of 2.0263% for 2024, which is down from 2.79 for 2023. We have on your tax sheet that you have for your home, if you live in Starke County, it'll show the value of your house and it'll show you the tax money and where the tax money goes. And out of the airport, county, library, school, and township, we have the lowest at 0.0263. In closing here, we would like to invite the board and everybody in this room, and if you're a community member, come out and see the airport. We'd be glad to show you around the improvements, explain to you what's going on so that you have a good, thorough understanding. We have a board meeting every third Tuesday of every month. It's a public meeting at 5 o'clock. We invite everyone to come to that, find out what's going on. For 37 years, we've had no problem with the budget. It has changed very little bit in the last 5 years. Again, please come on out and see what we have, and I'd be glad to show you around. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I talk, please? First of all, thank you so much for coming. And what you just told us right now is what I've been trying to get for the last 3 years.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's not that we're on a witch hunt against the airport. It doesn't matter if it's state, federal, local tax money, it's still tax money. And we are in charge of that money ultimately. And I think that's all I ever wanted.
Okay.
was an explanation of what, of everything.
Would it help?
I'm a lot clearer now on it. I mean, I feel like I am.
I am too.
Yeah,
There were actually two things.
I
that
think the
council-
biggest thing was that the budget come in late. And that was a mishap and it's too bad, but
I think
I'm
the other,
very tickled with the presentation.
Yes.
I
Very
think,
nice.
I think the other request was, the council over the years had made a request about having somebody on the board, even if it's a non-voting member of the board.
Cause I know their board is probably set by statute, I'm sure
Correct.
the members
County
on it.
commissioners.
But maybe
join
if
us.
we, since we know the meeting date,
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
I'm satisfied it, and when. It's all about transparency, okay?
Yes, and that's what we want.
I didn't wanna bring up the thing about the nepotism, but it was brought up to me, and so I have no choice,
Right.
I'm not gonna hide it. It's gotta be brought out in the open forum,
Mhm.
and. I'm sorry that's what happened, but that's kind of the way it is,
Mhm.
I mean, ultimately.
Well, you
Would it
understand,
help you? We have minutes, just like you folks. We have minutes of every meeting. Do you want us to send that to you on a monthly basis?
I think the big thing for me really is that. You know, I've looked at your budget, I see what you have proposed. I guess my thing is that. Somehow, without micromanaging the airport, which. We got enough micromanaging to do, we don't need anything else. I mean, just if we can keep informed of what's going on.
that balance sheet was helpful.
Yeah, that
That's
was-
what pages.
That was very.
Instead of looking at the whole budget and everything else, just the balance sheet,
Yeah,
it answered the question that was asked about fuel. But as in, like, each little thing, it really probably answered 85% of all the questions that the council had about the financial part of, because that's really our thing, is
Sure.
the financial. I don't think anybody's really questioning the actual management of the airport as much of
no,
as just, hey, people in the public are asking,
Mhm.
you know, where is this going? Understandably, a lot of that money is federal money, but as you can see on the balance sheet, there's still a pretty decent amount that comes from the county, and so,
Mhm.
you know, but I mean, I think people look at federal dollars too, and they go, well, hey, those are coming from my tax dollars too, so. I think that was useful. I don't know how often, but maybe if we saw that prior with, you know, prior to the budget time, it would be helpful too, just because everybody knows how the stage is set. You know, because it spells a good picture, right? Like I said, referencing the fuel question, there's a great amount of fuel business there,
Sure.
and so.
And that fuel business, people don't understand. Every airport, every airplane that lands out there, the government kind of records. We are like the 20th busiest airport in the state of Indiana because of our fuel sales. And because of that, that's why we get so much federal money, because the federal government looks at it and goes, well, how busy is this airport? If nobody lands there, we don't need to put any funds into it.
Sure.
They'll put it into the more busy airports. The interesting thing in doing all this research, back in probably the 30s or the 40s, the federal government came out and said, hey, we want every county to have an airport in that county for safety reasons. For instance, when Hurricane Helena came through North Carolina, there's a lot of people down there. If it wasn't for small airplanes and personal people spending their own personal money in their airplanes, moving supplies, there'd be a lot of dead people down there. Because the federal government is not taking care of those people. Individuals are taking care of those people and making sure they have food and supplies. And it's because of those airports and those equipment that they're being taken care of. And so this airport is really a beacon as far as a well-run, managed airport, and it's able to take good-sized corporate jets, but it's there for safety. We never know when we might have to have a government C-130 come in here with supplies for this town or whatever. You never know.
I mean, having Bluetooth there is.
Yeah,
is
that's what I was gonna say.
huge.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
I mean, that's huge.
And they're flying, they average at least one flight a day. They'll do sometimes 2-3 flights in a day, and then they might be down for 4 days, but then again, they're back doing 2-3 flights. They're flying all the time.
That's a beautiful, great asset
Right.
by far.
Would someone like to make a motion as to approving or accepting the budget for the airport, or would you like to have further discussion?
I'll move to
I'll
accept.
second it.
Have a motion from Bruce, a second from Kay. Is there any further discussion? I'll ask all those in favor to please say aye, and is there
Thank
any
you.
opposed?
Very much.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for
All
your
in favor?
presentation.
It was,
Yes,
it was
that was
simple,
great.
it was simple, it was painless.
That's great.
That's all we want.
Right,
That's
yeah.
all we want.
Thank you very much.
Back. So please make sure that comes back.
And where the hangar's at, my wife and I was gonna build a house there. That was part of the Harry Price farm.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it disappoints me every time I go by, but I'm.
Yeah. Well, you got a nice place and we love your sweet.
All right.
Well, mine's worse than that. Okay, so. What we had advertised was that we would continue with the council's meeting. The thing is, the caveat to that though is that the auditor told me that not to do the things that start at 2 o'clock, not to do those first, to do the things on the bottom side. But I think the first item, I would be fair to wait for that one for Cassandra to be here for that first item.
Which one's that?
The open door policy. discussion.
You say we can't address the open door policy?
Well, she said, address these things on the bottom where it says maybe before 2 p.m. for those items, but in fairness to Cassandra, I think she should be here. She's joining. So I don't think it would be fair to discuss that without her.
Okay. Oh, sure.
And so,
You voted.
and there's an addition to that, is that the EMS director would like to be added to talk about an ambulance that he has in discussion with the commissioners. But the meetings are flip-flopped. And so I think we'll do that and then we'll do these ERAs, but did he go back to his office? Yeah, please. Now, one thing I think that while we're waiting for Jim to come in, Mandy, I was asking Sarah, I believe where it says about document shredding, is that the same document shredding that just got added in 2 different places? So I think in fairness, I think it would be okay to move yours unless somebody has a objection to that. Jim, if you want to sit down, but let me deal with Mandy first, since I started on that. Rick has an effort to clean up the
Correct.
the glove factory. And so part of that is we need to shred some more documents.
I would.
I think everybody can get you from over there. Or if Jim wants to slide over, I'll have another chair.
I don't need to sit. I'll just come up so
Okay.
that people can hear me on the microphone. So yeah, it's the shredding. We've got the warehouse cleaned up. Most of the shredding that is happening has already been approved through forms and everything. So we have all of that. So we're asking for, I think Michael Lane put $3,000
Yeah.
on there. It looks like we have double the amount that we had last time, and the last shredding was about $1,500. So that's why we're asking up to. We did ask more from the commissioners, so that way if it was more, we didn't have to go back to the commissioners and then come back to you guys. We could just come back to you guys. And it's like we don't know exactly because we don't have a scale.
Yeah.
So
So we can
it's
just say
12
up
cents
to.
per pound is what the shredding is costing. So, and they are scheduled for Wednesday to be here.
So you're shredding documents that the statute has ran out to keep them,
Yes.
or are they documents that have been archived? Yet that have been microfilmed, or
So,
something else, or
like,
scanned, I should say.
we have, each office has a schedule, and so we've gone by the schedule. These are documents that can be removed. Most of them have actually already been, a form has been filled out years ago on them. And in the first shredding that we did, when I was here, we just couldn't get to them at that point. Now that we've got the warehouse cleaned up and everything organized better, we actually could get to them. So they've been able to shred for a while now. And right now it's all staged, basically where the highway needs to put their equipment for the winter. So
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
kind of a
since you've been in there,
desperate need.
in the process of also trying to help city court, like we've been trying to move things, there just hasn't been any room in there.
Yeah.
Like somebody even asked about putting the bison in there. There's no room to put anything in there.
There is,
Especially with, now, there's getting to be now, but I mean, for years
Yeah.
there has been, it's been.
yeah,
bad.
no, it's pretty clean now, except for we
Yeah.
have all the stuff that needs to be removed
Rick's done a great job.
in an area. So, yeah, he has.
Yeah.
So you're listed at, on the top and listed on the bottom.
Yeah, we were just discussing that. We
The
just
same.
think it's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
Yeah,
Hard to hear down here.
So,
It's not your fault, too.
Yeah, yeah.
so that's all we're looking for is approval to go ahead with the shredding, and have an appropriate, the $3,000 additional appropriation to do that.
She said 2,000.
3,000.
3,000.
Yeah, if I was sitting down, he definitely would have heard me.
Oh, you got it.
And it actually is on this additional appropriation sheet, which she has together on here, which I knew she was putting these together. But the last time, she said if we didn't approve one of these, we could just X one of them out, but it is on this sheet, so like, we'll wait.
Where's it
If we
coming
approve
out?
this one, that's what I was gonna say, is she just has an additional to county general. Interestingly enough, I don't know if it has to be an additional for that to county general. I mean, the PERF thing's a different story.
Right.
But as far as being additional, I don't know why they couldn't just pay that out of QCAP.
I think that's where it came out of last time.
Okay,
Few
I
years
thought
ago.
so.
Yeah.
So somebody wanted to make a motion, I would suggest
I'll
that.
make that motion.
Howard actually.
I'll make a motion that we fund the recorder $3,000 to pay the fee of document shredding to come out of the QCAP fund.
Okay, were you wanting to second that?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Thank you, Mandy.
Thank you, guys.
Jim?
Afternoon.
Well,
Howdy.
I am here for a pre-approval prior to the commissioner's approval. As of last month, I asked for a replacement of one ambulance. Due to extensive costs, which is out of service right now for safety reasons. It right now needs a transmission. We spent over $21,000 out of the budget last year just maintaining it. Commissioners that asked me to view alternatives. I looked at 5 used ambulances. All of them were getting into somebody else's junk, to be honest. Everyone I looked at had over 100,000 miles on. There were $70,000-$80,000. I did come up with a solution for a portion of it. I know you've seen the Mercedes style Sprinters. Our transfer truck is good. I can move that into frontline temporarily because we can't get a new ambulance now at this point until
26.
February 2026. So temporarily, I found a Sprinter that will take the place, that's actually a Ford Transit, that'll take the place, brand new. It's a demo for $107,000. I can move the transfer truck into the mainline status temporarily till I can get a new one. Basically, what I'm asking for is $107,500 for now.
Transfer really.
Basically for the transfer, and I'll move the transfer in, and approval for $238,000 for late 2025, early 26. That puts us in good shape for at least 3 years. Because I have to retire the second one. Both of them have over 210,000 miles. And they're getting,
So. When you're talking about for the 107. Is there gonna be a bunch of additional costs?
no,
Switching
because
everything over?
basically all I'm doing, the only thing it's gonna be is the 5,000 for the wrap. That's it.
Okay.
Because everything that's coming out of the retired truck is going into that one. So from here on out, for this one, it's just moving from one truck to the next. And for 2025, 26, moving everything from one to the next. This all depends on the commissioner's approval too.
Yeah, that's.
How much future the ambulance, the transfer rig that you're gonna convert over to? What lifespan do you think that's got left?
It has the least amount of miles on everything. That's the best run. So I would say probably at least 2 to 3 years.
Okay,
But
and just out of curiosity, Jim, and I'm just asking to satisfy my own curiosity, when you drive by, your main base there in Knox, just on the west side of the hospital, you always see 2 or 3 ambulances sitting out parked.
one of them's a backup rig. Yeah.
Okay, are those all 3 or 2 to 3 sitting there? Are those all functionable ambulances or?
One of them is no longer functional.
Okay,
Second one that's sitting there from the inside is not. The third one is the transfer truck.
okay.
So two of those would actually go bye-bye.
Okay, I've had people ask me, what are all them ambulances sitting out there? I said, well, I'll find out, but thank you
Yeah,
for that.
no, there's the one that says 0085 is the one that's out of service right now. The one that says 0514 is the one that needs to go out of service. So, and the one that says 4726.
And what you're talking about buying for a new transfer unit, is that acceptable in the standard today as an acceptable transfer unit?
Actually, yeah.
Accepted by the community?
Because the wideness of these boxes now, I have a issue with them going down streets of Chicago to take something to Rush. Because it's so wide. Right now, they're having issues with the buildings and the mirrors and everything else. These are actually skinnier. And they can fit on a street where, just like coming down Main Street during breakfast time.
Okay.
So, and these are actually used by most of the transfer services.
Delivered Amazon thing.
It takes all the fun out of it. So that's what I'm looking for, pre-approval for those two.
There's EVs.
The $238,000 ambulance type 2, the earliest that would be here is in December of next year.
December 29.
But they're saying February 2026 is when it would get delivered. I lost the June one already. I found a different alternative. And I did look into the financing for them, and the closest I could get was 4.7% on a 5-year loan
For what, for?
for the financing both
That's a lot of
ambulances.
money.
And then the payments would be $87,000 a year. So it's not,
I don't know. I'm not into spending taxpayer money paying finance charges,
Not that big.
not that much.
Some of them had 0% and they're like
0%, who cares?
0.5% for a while, but
I checked multiple places.
Anything else, it's like. Probably one place it could come out of,
supply and demand, so.
I mean. I'm tight, you know what,
I know.
okay,
He knows.
but I fully understand spending all that money on maintenance. I mean, that's worse than paying interest as far as I'm
It's
concerned.
bleeding the budget dry.
You're just throwing it out the window.
And then not getting it fixed. Because then something else falls apart.
Right.
Of course, this,
Putting the horse before the cart here.
well, the motion would be upon
Commissioners.
commissioner's approval, just because they would be the final.
We could take-
Normally, he would bring it to them first.
we could take that.
I would say we'd probably just take it out of seed it,
We have to.
that's
I
being
mean,
that
right.
much.
Doing the pre-approval because of the commissioners changing their meetings from this morning to this afternoon. And I mean, I can understand the situation, but we need to try to keep ourselves from being in that situation as far as.
You kind of threw me for a loop,
Me too.
the flip flop.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I will entertain a motion or a table.
Let me ask you this, Jim. If. I mean, when does the availability of these go away? To be honest with me,
The availability, I've lost 2 June one and one for late fall
so
already.
are you getting in the queue to build one, or is this just one they're building?
This is when they're building. If
Okay.
I was in a queue to build one, it's 2020.
You said a demo, though, it's built already, right?
Yeah,
It's a demo.
that's a deal. This one here, the one to replace the one that's out of service now, I can have in 3 weeks. It's already built. It's a new old stock. It was a demo. It's got 853 miles on it.
Is the transfer business good? Are you doing a lot of transfers?
Yes, out of my normal budget, I have returned all but almost $200,000. So yes, it has picked up. Public knowledge, we collected $118,000. Which is, we've been averaging 85 to 90. And if I continue at the rate I'm going, I will have paid back my budget.
What brand is it, Jim?
The Ford, right?
That's a
What brand is the conversion?
global vehicle. Global emergency.
We haven't bought global emergency vehicles before. Like, is it the same warranty and everything that we've got
This
from
one actually has.
road coach and all that?
This one has a 5-year warranty, plus it comes with a 5-year, 100,000-mile Ford.
Are they based in Elkhart too, or where are they?
They're based in, I think they're in Texas.
Kansas?
Oh,
Oh.
Texas.
And Jim, the ambulance you're talking about that you're putting a lot of expenses into, what are we gonna do with that one?
Well, we have.
Has they got any value?
We have 3 of these ambulances.
Okay,
What I want to do is take the 2 that I put all this money into
right,
and keep it for the best one. So that way I have readily available parts. One of them, 0085, we had to put a new exhaust system in. The exhaust system was $5,000. That was on national back order. We pulled some strings to get it. I had it flown in overnight, put it in service. Can't get one right now. There's still a national back order. But if I take one off of 514 or 084 or 085, I have all the parts I need. I mean, I've got
so you kind of want to hold on to those
piece them together
for part.
until I can't piece them together anymore.
Back to the brand though, this is a local company though that's gonna do warranty work, like,
Yes,
was it fire service or who is?
actually, it's going through. It's global emergency vehicle through the one in Middlebury. It's the one at Crossroads.
Oh, Crossroads, okay, fine. Just making sure you don't have to take it to Texas or something to get it
No,
fixed. either.
no, it's everything goes through Crossroads.
So do we need to dedicate the funds today or in lieu of getting some of these solar funds in? That would be an option at some point in time.
That's a good point, but we're only gonna get 75 this year. So, but that would be an option if it comes sooner than later. I think we're expecting some sooner than later for this
So
year.
I'm gonna go out on a limb. 25 years ago, as a commissioner, I voted to approve a new ambulance and caught all kinds of flack. And I'm willing to do that again this afternoon. So if you're looking or entertaining a motion to move with this project, I so move.
Have a motion from Bruce. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? All in favor? Tony, I don't know if I'm hearing you or not. Can you hear us? I just want to check to see.
I'll hear you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when I heard that, I thought, is that Tony or is that,
I think that's his radio.
no, that's the radio here, but Tony's muted right now. You're muted, Tony. Can you try unmuting him once? and see?
Hey, can you hear me now, Dave?
Hey, I just wanted to make sure you could hear us. Okay, good deal.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm listening.
Gotcha.
See, Sean's on there too.
I see Mr. Matros on there.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then before we go on to the introduction of the ERA, why don't we just knock this perf out also, since it's sitting right here and we can just get it signed and it's actually on the bottom of the list. Oh, right, yeah, the one problem is I'm trying to get closer to
Yeah.
2 o'clock.
Yeah, well.
I don't know that we're voting on anything for Angela though, so maybe we can do that, but we still got these to do too, so. So everybody got that, from Michaeline about the, perf and that it was short. We have an additional appropriation before us of $36,000. I'm sorry, 33,000. The other 3,000 we already approved for the shredding. It's 33,000 for the, perf.
What fund is that coming out of? Do we know?
Well, she's doing it as an additional appropriation to the general fund, so it's an actual true additional, I think, is what she's asking the state for, an additional on the budget. So it's not actually coming from something. I mean,
Okay.
I'm not sure, I mean, why we couldn't discuss it coming from somewhere.
See, is that?
Yeah. So.
General
I
appropriation.
mean, the problem with the general appropriation, general appropriation. It kind of gets you on the next year's budget, basically, you know, so we don't usually like to do
I
true.
just had so I'd walk out for a minute because it's so cold up there.
Yeah, turn the
You didn't, yeah.
dude, it's like 68 and it's like I got CrossFit.
I know, but it's just like it's nice.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. It happens to me sometimes too.
Before we hear something we don't want to hear.
There was another reason why we couldn't appropriate that from seeded instead of doing an additional.
Oh, as long as you all approve the vote, you can change where it's appropriated from. I don't see any issue with that.
I mean,
I don't like taking it out there and do it.
doing an additional, right?
Not really, I mean, it doesn't, I guess it really doesn't make sense.
Especially since we haven't gotten our budget order for 25 yet.
Well,
I mean, we have enough in seeded.
yeah. I'm gonna make the motion that we approve the 33,000 for the additional perf, CETA fund.
Have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Bruce. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And is there any opposed? Yeah. Tony, were you an aye or a nay on that one? We muted you because we were getting some. Okay, thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you. Okay, as we work up the bottom of the list, that was advertised to happen before too. We could move on to the introduction of the ERA and introduction of the EDA from Dunsbridge.
Would it be helpful for us to do our presentation for that, or?
The battery presentation,
Yeah.
I think I have to, since it's advertised at 2:40.
In order, before we go any further.
Sure.
Why do we have to hear about battery storage? Council has nothing to do with battery storage. We do not vote on that. We have nothing to do with it.
Well,
Explain to me why. That's all I want to know. Why.
I think the reason why was because some of the council had questions about the battery storage itself.
That's fine.
And
It just seems like
we would be the ones approving the EDA.
but we're not approving the battery storage. We have nothing to do with battery storage. So I don't care if we're here or not, but I'm just saying that we need to stay in our own lane.
And I think it was more for the public too, though, because originally there wasn't a.
But there is a commissioners meeting. We are not the public forum for the
Right.
commissioners. This is the county council, the fiscal body, not the executive body. If everybody wants to hear it, I'm fine with it, but I'm just bringing the point of order that I don't know why we're out of our realm.
We have too much confusion going on between the commissioners and the council as it is.
If he wants to talk about the ER, that's fine, but I don't know what justice it will do us to hear about battery storage. The other people that are here for battery storage. Some of them, they know that the commissioners is where that decision will be ultimately made through the planning commission, not this council has nothing to do with it, zero. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, we have nothing to do with battery storage.
As far as approving,
Yeah.
no, I think the point is that there were some questions about battery storage from the council. I don't have any.
If the council wants to talk to him, I don't care. I'm not trying to stop him. I'm just trying to bring up a point of order. And keep our meetings.
I
Where they're
agree with
supposed to go.
Todd.
The only thing I think we should do that at 2:40, or at least after we start the 2 o'clock, just ask if anybody's here for battery storage. I don't know if the commissioners would want to entertain having the presentation at their meeting then. What would you suggest?
They can always vote on an agenda additional. I mean, they can change their agenda at their meeting if they want. Presentation as well.
I mean, I don't know, is there anybody here that is here to listen to the battery storage? Knowing that it's a commissioner issue and not council? There's nobody here that even can listen to it. So,
In both parties?
pardon me?
No, it
Does it
is
go through one and then through the
No,
other?
we have nothing to do with it.
not one.
We have zero.
Nothing.
Zero. So that's why I brought up the point of order. Obviously, there's nobody here that wants to hear about it, so I don't know why we're talking about it.
Okay, well then, I think right now we were addressing the ERA and the EDA.
So thank you for giving us the time today, again, to be out here to discuss the economic development agreement as well as the economic revitalization area on the Dunsbridge 2 project. As you can see before you, we explicitly broke the economic development payments into a phase 1 and phase 2 on the project to be upfront open.
Where do we have that at?
The phase 1 payments as part of the project total a little over $8.4 million in economic development payments, which is approximately $560,000 per year. And then the phase 2 payments are equal to approximately 2.9 million in economic development payments, or approximately 190,000 per year for 15 years. In total, the project, in addition to the increased land taxes, will contribute in excess of $11 million in economic development payments over the life of the project. With me, I have Matt Holly here. He's my legal counsel on the economic development agreement to talk about this. And we will also be at the commissioners meeting, just to talk about the battery storage presentation. That's the desire of the commissioners later on. So, any other questions? Matt, you want to come up here?
Here to answer any questions, I think.
This is what you received in your email. Does anybody have any questions about it?
Similar in format to prior phase. Well, I mean. I'm not gonna talk for everybody, okay, but I will. We can't do anything with it anyways, other than its presentation, because,
Introduction of it.
yeah, because we don't know what's gonna happen with the plan commission. If they're gonna have a hearing. For the battery storage, for one thing, which I know that is still directly involved in that, because that's what we appear to want to be talking about is battery storage.
Yeah, well, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know.
No, about currently battery storage is actually a permitted use. There's discussion about enhancing that with an actual battery ordinance, correct? But the current ordinance for solar does have battery storage listed. I mean, it may not be elaborate. According to, what we want to see today, but it does discuss battery storage in the current ordinance now, correct? It's a permitted use now, correct?
Yeah, so obviously, we're kind of in a state of flux right now. It's hard to answer concrete questions about what the planning commission may or may do at their public hearing. Legally speaking, you have to treat any current permits as they are under the current ordinance until it gets changed. As with anything, you can't hold somebody legally, no matter what project it is, to a standard if that standard has not been adopted or amended. So, and this is up to you all, of course, but all you're doing tonight, if you see fit, is to introduce this and pass it along to a public hearing in November like you did with the Hoosier project. You're not approving anything, you're just introducing it and agreeing to set it for the public hearing for the abatement, which is within your guys' authority at the November 18th meeting, I believe it is. So, I know you guys have gotten the agreements over email, but I brought a hard copy there in case anyone had any questions, just to kind of bring it full circle. It's hard to answer questions with the planning commission, again, having a public hearing on the docket as to if they're going to change anything. Maybe they will, maybe they won't, but anyway, putting to rest those concerns, you have to at least currently proceed like the current ordinance that is in place is the one that you're acting under. Just to be consistent, and I know that's about as clear as mud, but
No, it's very clear, but now. Are we getting into the same thing that we just went through? What is the advantage?
sure.
And we are. As we commissioned, I guess you could say, a study. Or determine which way is the best way for the residents of the county, the taxpayers.
On the talk about that at all?
We've got one, but I thought we were gonna meet an executive session about it before we voted on it. The
Right.
19th.
I'm just saying, I
Right.
don't know if we can talk about the
Yeah.
preliminary numbers though. or-
So I don't know if we're in the same situation. With Nextera. That we are with Hoosier. I mean, if we went to the trouble. Spending the money and putting Hoosier on the fire, so to speak. To see which better deal is, I don't know how we can just tell them, my opinion. We can just say, all right, we'll just put it on there,
Put it on the what, on the,
on the agenda for a public hearing. I guess we could, but it's gonna have to be a lot of ifs and whats and buts.
well, I don't know if there's a whole lot of ifs. I mean, one of the things we spoke about before was. For the existing projects that we wanted to see that the elements were the same for the previous projects. And so maybe the public at least wants to know that, like, it's still $2,809 per megawatt.
And we don't even know if that was the best deal compared to a tax abatement, do we? For sure.
Well, we
The
just,
original deals? Do we know?
it was twice what their opening offer was.
No,
but I
but-
mean, we did.
Well, what's compared to the tax abatement? If we would have said no tax abatement, you just pay taxes. Do we know what that number is?
No, we just got a study that. I guess didn't answer the exact question,
Yeah.
just it showed though.
We gotta
there was a
study
tax
now.
benefit.
We gotta start tax.
There was a similar study that was done by Purdue. I mean, I don't have it at my fingertips right now, but yeah, there was a study at Purdue. And
Well, I don't,
the state came up with, with the ability for us to do this, just for this scenario for counties like ours that,
so. I mean, we're not approving anything, obviously, all we're doing.
no, we're just setting up the public
So,
hearing.
I'm done talking.
The public hearing has to be 30 days from when it's proposed, right?
I don't know that it has to, I'd have to look, I don't know that it has to be within 30 days, it just has to be properly published as a public hearing for that specific purpose, which
We're not in.
I can't recall, Howard, exactly what but I do not believe it is 30 days.
I mean, I don't know, I just feel like. We haven't had a chance to discuss. The information we got regarding Hoosier. And that was probably gonna base. Some of our decision, at least my decision, if we were gonna approve the abatement or if we were not gonna approve the abatement. So now. We're throwing the horse before the cart again. And I don't personally myself, I don't know how we can move forward, but the public hearing can't be in November. Or it's gotta be December
To just table.
or January. It's gotta be farther enough out. to Really look at this. I mean, I'm done making rash decisions. So it's up to what the council does. It's just, that's my opinion. It's not, I'm not gonna make a motion about it, I'm just telling you the way I feel.
Is there anything wrong with us tabling this until we find the direction that the commissioners are going?
I mean, it's up to you guys, how you want to handle that,
I do see what you say.
sorry.
I do understand what you say.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Todd, consistency is a good thing, I think that Mr. Peters did a good job on the study that of course we've not, talked about yet. He came up with it within 30 days.
Yeah, very quickly.
So, I mean, even, it's up to you guys, if you want to table it, and then set the public hearing at the next meeting, the November 18th meeting, if you want to do like you did with Hoosier and not do it for the next month, preceding month, which will give you time to commission a study.
For what it's worth, we had reached out about getting a study in motion a number of weeks ago. And the responses we got back were, they were communicating with the county about getting that going. And every time I've checked in,
Who's they?
Baker Tilly.
Okay, well, I'm more up for us deciding who we do the study and not.
And that's-
somebody else.
that's fine.
So, and it's a good point, because Baker Tilly's actually conflicted out, that's why,
Yeah.
because they did some work for, I believe Hoosier early in the project, a couple years ago, so we.
So that's not kind of-
firm for that.
At least we're trying to
Sure.
get that ball rolling a number of weeks ago, but just hadn't heard anything.
So. All right. In lieu of all this, I will make a motion that we set the public hearing for December, the December meeting. And in the meantime, we still have time to commission another study. We have to make sure.
But we
But-
decided we were commissioning a study.
That's not on this one, though.
No,
we
that's
already did the
different.
one. Who's
That was-
got that?
Okay.
That's what this is.
Okay,
So
The EDA here is the same terms though as the other EDA. Would it be any?
I didn't bring mine to Baker Tilly.
It's a
No,
different EDA, right?
Utility.
It's the same.
So-
So then why do we have two EDAs and not one?
So is there two different
Oh,
companies?
I got it, I'll get,
Well,
Why can't we-
numbers are the same.
can't we use this company?
Well, maybe,
Yeah.
maybe Dave said that this is almost identical to that one.
Well, yeah, I mean, what's the difference gonna be, but they're gonna tell us the pros and the cons on the tax abatement or the other ways to tax, correct? Correct, Dave?
Yeah.
What are they gonna tell us different with this company that they're not telling us with Hoosier?
Dave's saying that this is, it's apples to maybe apples kind of sort of.
Maybe.
Green to red, yeah, green to red, that's what I was gonna say, but I thought.
Okay,
So,
I'm just looking at if we don't have to spend another,
yeah, I don't wanna spend
that's
some
what
money.
I'm looking at.
Yeah, if you'll allow me to, I can elaborate a little bit on what, without introducing the study, just to kind of just baseline, again, you guys get so. But part of that study, there's various factors that they looked at and Dave and Todd were on the preliminary call and Mr. Peters had asked, say, what are my factors we're gonna look for? So as part of that study, they looked not just at the value of the economic development payments, they looked at what our circuit breaker loss was. So the real property is going to be, have a jumped up assessed valuation. So again, without going, I'm not a CPA, I'm not just, I think the ag property is capped at 2 or 3 grand an acre now that it's appraised for. So by putting the solar panels, the array, it increases that value, I think, to 13,000 an acre, something like that. So what they do is they quantify the circuit breaker loss, that the uncaptured real property gain on that amount, and it shows what we actually will capture. So, it's probably worth having maybe Mr. Peters make a presentation to you all too, but I think, don't quote me on this, what he was trying to gather by that is this is the amount of loss because you can't capture that extra real property evaluation over the $13,000 an acre. So there is some circuit breaker loss, or I don't think it's huge, but there is some loss there. So in essence, again, not being a CPA, not trying to make a presentation about it today, that shows this increased value to the land. So this is what we would get.
Those last 2 pages.
If this project went through and these are the economic development payments, this is the net sum economic value to the county, is I think how that study was commissioned and at least what it showed.
Hey, can anybody hear me?
We can see you.
It's really hard to hear anything.
Quality or volume?
Both.
I have my volume all the way up and I hit all of the volume buttons on here to hear you guys.
Is your problem quality or volume?
Oh, I can hear you now.
Okay.
It's hard to hear down here too.
We were trying to have the microphone kind of pointed in the center.
Yeah, I pulled over. I didn't realize you were starting the regular meeting before 2 o'clock or I would have logged on sooner. I was driving and trying to get back there, but I've pulled over.
We started the regular meeting, but on the bottom side of it where it says, may be before 2 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just, at the introduction of the ERA and the introduction of the EDA. From Nextera.
Well, I don't know. I heard Justin talking a little bit, but there are some things I wanted to say about the ERA document. I don't know where you guys are in the discussion.
In the middle of it, go ahead.
All right, so I reviewed the statute on the economic revitalization areas. And my question before we even get to economic development agreements is how, well, I guess I think the council needs to take a close look at whether these proposed lands actually constitute economic revitalization areas when the statute talks about land that is not appropriate for any other use and that is like it contemplates blighted and run down areas. I don't think it accurately contemplates turning fertile farm fields into solar fields. And the council is actually, prior to approving an economic revitalization area request, part of the statute requires us to make, I believe, 5 findings. And I don't know if that was ever done before, but it is in the Indiana statute that has to be done. And all, I think 5 points must be in the affirmative, or an area cannot be considered or appointed as an economic revitalization area. So to me, that's the first step prior to any of the other documents. And I would question whether these proposed fields are meet the definition of the ERA, as well as in the statement. Let's see, I'm in my car and I'm shuffling papers. In the economic development agreement, there's an attachment about the best, let me see, I don't remember the name of it. And it's near the back, of course. It is, oh, the statement of benefits. They list that they are wanting to, the location and description of proposed project called manufacturing equipment. Under the Indiana statute, manufacturing equipment has to be equipment that is used to make other tangible personal property. And I am not aware of any place or time that solar energy could be considered tangible personal property being manufactured as the statute defines manufacturing equipment. So I don't know if we need, we had talked before about executive sessions, special meetings, or something to where the council would have someone to come in and school us a little more on this, because I did receive that report from that Peters company, and it doesn't mean a whole lot to me with all of the numbers. I just feel like we need to be more educated on this. And I think that if we have a meeting just on these documents, we can focus on the statute and the requirements to find something, a revitalization area, and then look at the tax abatement issue.
Do you want to go like Zoom or something, or?
I would imagine. I think he's significantly under the top end number you guys approved for it. So
I mean, maybe everybody else sort of understands all those numbers 100%, but if our lawyer is not a CPA, I'm way far from the CPA. So.
All we're looking for today is just to advance to the public hearing where a lot of these things would be discussed and taken up. So it's just trying to.
Yeah, but that's, I'm not for. Setting the public hearing is fine, but we're not gonna have the public hearing and then all of a sudden we're gonna not discuss this stuff and then we're just gonna do it. That's not how this is gonna, I'll fight it till the end. That's not how it's gonna work. We have to make sure. Don't take this the wrong way, but if a company's making us an offer, such as your company is, I'm pretty sure that that offer is in the interest of your company because you are a for-profit business. And I understand that. I understand that fully. Just like when somebody leased their land for solar, I'm sure they took the best deal they could get. And I'm sure that you are offering the best deal for your company. And I expect that 100%. But with that being said, we still have to know. We still have to know what the deal is. I mean, I wouldn't be beyond setting the meeting, setting the public hearing for maybe the December meeting. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's gonna pass.
But in the meantime, though, Todd, in fairness to everybody, we would need to bring up Cassie's point
Absolutely.
at the economic development. We would need to, by that meeting, be schooled and be able and prepared to make a decision and get our ducks in a row and listen to the outside, who we want to listen to. But before that, where we haven't, that would need to be done as soon as possible.
And
that way, when we did have our public meeting, every one of us sitting at this table.
Somebody's talking in the background and making it very difficult to hear Howard. I'm sorry, Howard, but I want to hear what you're saying, and whoever's talking is creating a big distraction.
Nobody talking.
I don't think anybody.
The microphone, oh.
We don't know what'll happen if you pass it. It might blow up.
I don't know if it's lying up a little bit.
It's probably lying. It's wrapped underneath here.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, what my point that I was trying to make is. Sounds like the majority of the council wants to hear more from.
Everybody should.
From these companies to address your point on the ERA. So before we have a public hearing, I would like to see us be informed and talk to the people that we need to talk to. That way we've got an educated opinions, although it may be different opinions, but we've had the opportunity to listen to the other people tell us the pros and the cons and all the in-betweens and everything. Kind of what you're talking about, and the 5 points of addressing whether it can be made an economic revitalization area. That way we've got our ducks in a row. When we do go into a public hearing, we as a council will be more schooled on what we're talking about. And I think that's what you talked about, is answering some of your addressing some of your concerns. Am I right?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
So with that being said, Howard, I have emailed Justin. And asked him if we could have an executive session to discuss this. And discuss. Well, obviously with Mr. Peters, but with any of the solar representatives, because it constitutes contract.
Yes.
No decision will be made, obviously.
So it's, and just to supplement what you said, Todd, under the executive session statute, we can have an executive if it's concerning interviews and negotiations with industrial, commercial prospects or agents. The key word there is with. So if we had an executive session, it would qualify as long as the project representatives that are offering these are part of that negotiation. It doesn't mean that they have to be there during the whole deliberation process. It could be something where you guys talk amongst yourself, receive the information, call the solar representatives in, have a discussion with them and be part of a negotiation. So as long as an executive looks like that, I think it fits.
And hey, Justin, I just want to point out to you, page 7 of the Office of the Public Access Counselor. It also talks about the ODL lists 7 types of gatherings not considered meetings. A meeting does not include the following: a gathering to discuss an industrial or commercial prospect that does not include a conclusion as to recommendations, policy decisions, or final actions on the terms of a request or an offer of public financial resources. So I came across that just today when I was rereading the public access manual. So I'm not even sure if it has to be considered an executive meeting, and whether, who would need to be present according to the public access handbook itself.
Well, and there's 2 types, I think. There's also one that allows you to meet on site to review commercial prospects. And I'm not sure, without looking, Cassie, I'm not sure if that's what it's talking about. I'm just kind of referring back to the blanket meaning of the statute, considering things.
Yeah.
I thought perhaps it's best just to stick to the bold meaning of the statute, the plain letter meaning, but I can look at that. I think it does say negotiations with, interviews and negotiations with.
Yeah, that's the executive session portion. I do remember that. But I came across this other section today. Oh, again, page 7, lower left side of the page, just to draw your attention to that.
I would be comfortable doing that, because quite honestly, in the 2 years that I've been back on this council, there's been very little information shared. It's kind of been the mushroom diet. And I would really like to be abreast of what's going on. So
I agree.
that's my 2 cents.
We have to do 2 things. Then, one, we need to decide if we're gonna make a motion for the hearing in December. Yeah, we got to set a date for an executive session. Obviously.
Well, if we want to have Mr. Peters there, kind of defeats the purpose to make a date today that may not be available for him. And then if we're going to have Nextera there, it's kind of coordination of a few different.
Well, Hoosier as well.
Yes.
I mean, because it,
I think we should make it open to all of our solar partners.
would be the
Well,
only 2 really that would be.
The ERA and the EDA are already emotional for Hoosier separately.
Okay.
November.
So,
No, but we had the study about Hoosier is the one that
Right.
just did.
Yeah.
right,
You guys can have separate executives, so you don't have to put them all. I mean,
yeah.
it's up to you. I just know that they want, I think part of the motion from last month was to set Hoosier's public hearing for November 18th. still set theirs for December and you can do it as two executives, I guess.
Yeah.
Whatever you guys want.
Well. With that being said, I will make the motion. I'm not sure I'm supposed to make the motion for it. That we set, no, we can't set the hearing date. That we move forward for a December council meeting for the public hearing next to ERA. And in the meantime, like I said. ERA and ERA and EDA both.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed?
Okay, good.
So, thank you. We will,
Thank you for your time today. Like I said, we'll be around at the commissioner meeting to see if they will vote to put us on the agenda for resource.
So it'll be December what?
we'll start out with Angela then from the Fair Board.
Okay, so we are here today to request the funding for our 2015 fair or 2015 2024 fair. I wanted to give this to you guys. This is just you know, where our money, goes each year that you guys give us.
Continue on US 35 South for 6 miles.
And then we also have the Hamlet is the water bill now for Hamlet and then our NIPS bill. Just so you guys have an idea.
It is.
Just for reference, this was because we asked you to come before us to ask for your money.
That's correct.
That's the only reason why.
Well, and we wanted,
Yeah, right, but I mean,
Yeah.
normally we didn't have you do
No.
this in the past, is all I'm saying. We agree with it.
We each, okay. I would like to say publicly, I know I have at another meeting. But I'd like to say it again. The community this year, the feedback that I got was you had a wonderful 4-H fair. It was a success. Everybody thought it was a wonderful improvement. I understand the carnival was good. And thank you for that.
Yes. Very well. Good job. Thank you. How did the carnival do? We don't know yet. They're still in their busy season. They should be wrapping up, he said, the end of October. And then he's gonna meet with us to let us know the numbers and stuff. Where we're at that.
We don't owe them any money, we know that.
Yeah, yeah. we don't-
That's a great, and that's, and due to, in the economic times we're going through right now,
Right.
that's a plus, so that's a good thing.
That's,
That answered a lot of questions.
yeah, we don't owe them money and we told them since that was the case, we could wait till their busy season
Yeah.
was over to have a face-to-face meeting with them.
And did you notice that since you had a carnival, it drew more people to the fair?
Oh, absolutely.
You got
We had
bigger crowds every night.
Yeah.
We would have never argued that point.
Right, no, I
The
understand.
vendors all did well, and the ones we talked to said they did very well. So, I mean, it's a positive for everybody. It wasn't like we weren't trying. I mean, the little. I don't know what you'd call it last year.
Well, we're gonna call that water under the bridge.
Yeah, I wasn't looking for a negative. I was just saying that the discussions we had definitely. I'll speak for myself. It made me try harder to find other things.
Here you go, okay.
So
The company also said they wanted to come back too, right?
Oh,
Like, they were happy
definitely.
too, right?
that's what we're gonna meet for, to sign a contract and.
They said that we had one of the best fairgrounds around that they've been to, so.
Now, I'd like to clarify something.
Mhm.
I think that we have funds that, like, if you would want to go in and put in a new restroom or something like that.
Mhm.
I would love to see this county council get involved with doing things like that. And I would hope in the future that we could have a better working relationship, and we're working for the people of Starke County.
Right.
I went to their meeting a couple months ago and they didn't attack me or anything. They left the
That's
door.
fine. It's okay. It's something positive come out of that.
Right.
Sure.
And let's keep it positive.
And I told them at the meeting that I've lived in Hamlet my entire life, all 62 years. And that was you guys, hands down.
I had a lot of feedback too, that it was the best fair in a long, long time.
Long time.
It's good.
Good. I'm hearing that.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
A lot of work, but it's
Yeah.
good to hear that. It's typically you hear the other side of that.
I think it's 12.
12.5, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It went up this year.
Oh, did it?
So is that what you're asking for?
Last year's amount, whatever
Okay,
you guys
I
did for last
would
year.
move that we appropriate those funds.
Would you like to put the 12.5 on it?
I would make the motion to approve what we promised.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Second from Kay. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Lisa, Dan, about the solar workshop.
Long time no see.
Hi there. Thanks for having me. And how timely is this? I have some education that might be of interest.
Thought you were impressed that we just took you at 2:10. Like it says on the agenda.
I did come to a commissioners meeting a month ago to share this information, but we have a workshop coming up at the Bass Lake Fire Station on Tuesday, the 29th. And I've actually, the commissioners didn't get the agenda, which is the third page of the pile of info here, just to show who will be presenting. And perhaps a lot of your questions that we just kind of went through with NextEra can be answered at this workshop. We do these all over the state. And this one is particularly for Pulaski and Starke County officials and community leaders. So if you are available, that would be fantastic. Feel free to register. There's a couple different ways to register. Call me, that works too. But would love to see as many public officials there. We would like to do a community workshop at some point, but this one will be specifically for public officials and community leaders. So, any questions?
29.
And I know Dave has been wonderful. He has actually sat in on a few of our workshops to share information from a public official's point of view and kind of going through the process. So just wanted to invite everybody, if you can be there at the Bass Lake Firehouse a week from tomorrow.
Is it really 4 hours long?
Well, it is because there's a whole lot of information. I mean, feel free to come at your convenience. Well, and that was the thing, because we're including the two counties. We have Pulaski County in the eastern time zone, but Todd, if you can be there for any of it, that would be fantastic. So anyway, just wanted to be here to invite everybody to that, and feel free to reach out beforehand with questions.
Just for clarity, though, the whole council can go to that. Here, we're not doing any business there. We're not voting on anything, right?
It's a workshop. It's just education.
Yeah, I'll look at it, but I think it qualifies as a social gathering. Social gatherings aren't deemed
Right.
in violation of the ODL.
Actually, Cassie just read off the ODL, you know, I mean, it sounds like it qualifies where they fell broken. I'm working unfortunately, but
I'll check, I'll make sure, but social gatherings are exempted. I'll see if you want me to.
well, please, because I think really probably all the council
Yeah,
wants to
maybe
do
we'll
it,
social,
maybe.
And some of our folks that present do a fantastic job. They know all about the permitting and the process. So it will be good information. I think after our earlier discussion, it might be very, very timely.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Well, thank
Thank
you
you.
guys. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. There's gonna be information there on economic impact too, so if it isn't aligned with what we're hearing other ways. We'll move next to Sean Matra about the opioid funding request.
Well, thank you, Mr. Pearman, and good afternoon, council members. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Council, I'm requesting for calendar year 2025, $50,000 of restricted funds from the opioid settlement. The reason behind this, it would allow Mr. Tim Gearhart to continue his services with court services. As you may or may not remember, Mr. Gerhardt has done this for us now in 2024. And he provides clinical services to individuals under supervision, specifically probation and community corrections supervision. Any justice involved individuals with any level of substance use disorder or mental health related condition. So I went before the county council on the 7th of this month and they approved it.
You went before the commissioners, you mean?
I apologize, the commissioners. Yes, sir. My apology on that. So I'm respectfully requesting that the county council review the proposal and make a recommendation to approve that today if at all possible. And I'll entertain any questions prior to that you find folks may have.
The same thing as we did.
Same
this
thing
last
as
year.
last year, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and I think we went over there and met and we talked about it separately, of course. And, I mean, ultimately, I think it probably saves the county money and probably helps people be better people. So I don't know, seems like a win-win to me.
Send motion.
I will make.
My experience with Mr. Gerhardt down in Pulaski County with my clients who are defendants the experiences have been quite positive. So I support his work.
I will make a motion that we approve, was it 50,000?
Yes, 50,000.
I approve
Pretty correct.
We approved 50,000 out of the opioid restricted fund.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Kay beat you. I had a feeling you might be a second though, Cassie. A second from Kay. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there any? All in favor, Sarah? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, council. I appreciate it.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
You all too. Thank you very much.
Next up is Bernadette about elections and veterans.
Were you going to, wrestle?
Already.
Would you have wrestled Trump?
I was getting excited about the weather getting so well centered.
I see a lot of cars parked at the courthouse every day. Looks like you've been busy.
October 4th through the 11th, I would like to turn the courthouse green again this year in honor of our veterans.
November. You mean November?
In November, what did I say? October? Sorry, November 4th through the 11th. Along with NATO. I would like to see our county supporting our veterans. I know last year, they bought some lights that can turn it green pretty easily. I would like to see us to do that again this year. That's all I have on the veterans. On the second page, July 1st, the House Enrolled Act 1328, which gave election officials a little more money, a stipend, because all the extra work that we have to do in the elections anymore. Not only did we have to write new safety protocols. Well, I really don't want to talk much more about those since it's security of our elections. You don't have to give me an answer. You can look at it. You can think about it. Every clerk that's went in front of their council and commissioners, nobody has been turned down. I hope you see that I do a fine job and I try to keep our elections as secure and as accurate. And I hope you warrant the desire to benefit something for me that the House approved. Other than that, that's all I have, guys. That and early voting's going on and we're setting record numbers.
Good.
So
So when do we need to work, when do we need to act on this, Bernadette?
before the end of the year.
Is there any reason why we shouldn't act on it right now while you're here? I'll make that motion to approve that.
Have a
What-
motion.
What was the motion to approve?
The $2,500 additional that our clerk gets for election.
Okay.
House Enrolled Act 1328, Cassie. You
Thank
didn't hear that. Bruce, was that your motion?
That's my
Still?
motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second from Howard. Any further discussion?
Yeah, if I get my way. All that money will be taken away from you and we will vote on election day and election day only. Enough said. I know it's.
It's the law. I can't change.
Can I make a comment?
I know.
Does this need to come before I take the vote though, just since I have this?
No, we need to take the vote. Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Okay, Bruce, go ahead.
Okay, I think in the future budgets, our poll workers and stuff, we really need to consider getting them a few more dollars because it's pretty tough. As you know, and as my wife knows, it's tough to get workers.
Yes.
Could we consider that?
It's actually, since we do not have anything in 2025, it wasn't built into the 25 budget, of course, but when I come in 25 for 26, yes, they were going to get it. I was going to ask for them to have a slight raise, and we did raise it last year.
A lot.
So.
It was like a decent raise.
Was that rate set by the state as far as like a minimum or no?
What's that?
For the
The poll workers? No, it's set by the county. The state has nothing to do with
I
that.
know we went above it.
But well, the reason why we raised it 2 years ago is because we were at the
Right.
bottom of
And it's tough
the
to
rest of
find,
the
right?
counties.
It's tough for you to find people, correct?
Yes. No, actually, we are full at the moment and I have several on both sides that are alternates, so.
So it's easy when it's like really like, 14 hours, not just. like-
It's not 12 hours, no, they gotta listen to me talk for 2 hours for training too, but they get $25 for that, but. I don't,
Get there at 5 and we'll be done maybe by 7.
5:37.
Yeah.
So, anything else for me? This
We'll keep it safe.
green light? Well, I think that's really by the.
You're just letting us know, right?
It just, yeah, because it's up to the commissioners. I think I just want everybody to be on board with it. I don't want any hard feelings for turning the courthouse green. This is why I want to do it.
That's why Todd said he was gonna look at the electric bill after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ice, there's nothing, right? Boy, you really think I'm tight.
Thank you. You do it, guys.
Thank you.
Is that it?
Yep.
Anything else?
Keep it
Save
safe.
them for St. Patrick's
Trying.
Day.
Thanks, guys.
And then we actually only have one piece of business left. We'll get some work done before the commissioners meeting.
Yeah, I had a question. Today it's pretty bad, but. I'm thinking of that public hearing in November.
Have it in a bigger venue.
Yeah. But I was thinking, this is my thought. I don't know if we could do it or not. In lieu of paying the city money. Could we have it at the Justice Center? That important? Is that bigger than?
Our justice. Center.
Yeah, our Justice Center.
The city might let us borrow their facility for free too. I mean, we could ask them for.
Have they charged in the past though, I wonder?
They've let us have it sometimes for free too.
Because. I mean, this room, first of all, acoustics are terrible, and second of all, it's not even a meeting room. I don't know what it is. I mean, I'm just thinking ahead. Because. You know the way the audio is, somebody in the hall, they can't hear anything, they can't see anything. And I mean, I don't know for serving everybody. The way we should. I mean, it's a thought,
It's not bad. I mean, we might be able to ask the city first.
yeah, but. Just a thought.
You said for the November.
I'm
hearing?
thinking for the public
Remember you said
hearing.
November. Do you mean December?
Yeah, December.
Yeah, probably both of them. I mean, it's just a thought.
Let's reach out to the city first and it's not a bad idea.
Motion for posting purposes, we'll have to repost
Yeah.
As far as the venue.
since we have public hearings.
Cassandra, are you gonna make?
Honestly, just
Right?
because it's like a court area, I think I would rather, even if we had to pay a few $100 maximum for the city, I'd rather, I think, do it at the city. Than plus all that parking out at our justice center and everything else. I just think it would be better if it was at the city.
I don't care. I just think we should take it.
Well, if we're gonna make a motion though to move it,
We'll have to repost since it's a public hearing. I think you have to post 10 days before the meeting for a public hearing. I think it's 10 days prior.
10 business days.
We have to.
Michael will probably want you guys to vote on that, just to.
Do you want to make a conditional vote? Just so Michaeline has it, so she's.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to make a motion that we move the November 19th meeting from this venue to the community center, if possible. As long as we can make the arrangements and the meeting can get published in the proper time for the public hearing. If not, we'll have to have it here.
The motion. Kay beat you, Cassandra.
Sorry.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? No, do actually have to feed the charges, I know.
It's up to you guys.
Okay, so the last thing is we have this discussion about the open door policy, we got a notice from the Public Access Council. I don't think I have to read the charges unless you guys want me to read the
I do.
charges. Okay.
I think I don't understand what this is all about, and I would love to know, first of all, I'd love to have the complaint read, and then, from whatever the state has to say
I
about
have
it.
a copy of it. I can bring a copy.
I may have. The two attachments there.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
It's no worries.
Already down, or should I do the download first?
Here's the access counselor, but
I need to read this letter too.
it's up to you guys.
I'll sleep better. Okay. So. Oh, wait a minute, the letter didn't.
No, you're good. You're all right.
Do you want to have a microphone down there so they can hear better?
That's if you do one, you do just click on word down here. And then-
Sorry. I just don't want to open stuff that maybe I'm not supposed to see.
You're good.
Okay, so I'm gonna read the letter first. And then the document that is the companion to that. It's a letter dated September 30th, 2024. It's addressed to Cassandra Hine and myself as the Cassandra Hine County Council and me as the president. For the address, notice of formal complaint, 4-FC-71. Dear Mrs. Hine, in accordance, can you hear me, Cassie?
I can hear.
Okay, sorry, just wanted to make sure because then we moved the microphone down. In accordance with Indiana Code 5-14-5, a formal complaint has been filed with the Public Access Counselor alleging a violation of the Access to Public Records Act against the Jonesboro Police Department, which we know that this was a form letter and that was left in there. I was hoping they might send us a corrected letter, but it should say Starke County Council. I don't know, those of you that use form letters, maybe you've had that happen. Happens sometimes, but it's unfortunate. A copy of the formal complaint is included for your reference, which I'll read that next per your request, sir. Under Indiana Code 5-14-5-5, a public agency must cooperate with the counselor in any investigation or proceeding. Therefore, your office's response to the formal complaint must be received by this office no later than October 25th, 2024. So we have 4 days. The Public Access Counselor will issue an advisory opinion with a reasonable amount of time following the date the complaint was received. You may email your response to pac@opac.in.gov, fax blah, blah, blah. Please contact our office with any questions. Sincerely. So that was the notification letter. And then the complaint filed by Mark E. Gorley, his address, his number, this against the Starke County Council, our address number. I was made aware of a situation by my local party committee chair, Dave Kesformis, that Starke County Council member Cassandra Hines, which I believe it's Hine, may be attempting to subvert Indiana's open door laws by holding one-on-one meetings with the majority of the county council to secure a vote on an item of business that was to be heard at their meeting that occurred on September 16th at 4:30 p.m. Since Councilmember Hines' actions have come to light, the subject of the issue is to be considered Monday, has requested that the item of business be removed from the county's meeting agenda by Representative of NextEra Energy Resources and Dutch Bridge Solar 2 LLC, the interested party by doing business in the county. To substantiate this allegation, Mr. Kesforma sent several images showing Ms. Hines posts to an online social media platform, and then those images are listed below. He does that sometimes too, it just takes off like that. So I will read that as it's entered in as well to the law. It says, this is on Rise Up Starke County. It says 3 hours ago. It doesn't list the date. I am posting this with the support of 3 of my fellow county council members with whom I've spoken separately so as not to violate the open door laws. We 4 want the public to know in advance of what is being proposed in your county. We do not want a repeat of the solar debacle during which the public felt they were not adequately informed. I think it's supposed to say about, but it says out huge life-changing property value lowering projects until it was too late. Since I began my term on the county council in January 2023, there have been constant relentless proclamations that Starke County will not be a site for battery storage. These documents show that those proclamations were either based on ignorance or outright lies, both of which are inexcusable. If you're making the statements to answer questions asked by constituents. The proposed battery storage project would begin in January 2023 in Railroad Township and be sited on 3 full acres. Now is the time to make your voice heard if there is any chance to prevent the 3 acres of battery storage in Starke County. And there's another page. So let me see if, because there might be a part chopped off. There's a little bit chopped off there that's illegible. Those proclamations were either based on ignorance or no, that they just had a second copy of the second page. Sorry. They just give the whole page. Contact your commissioners and voice your opposition. Contact your county council person and tell them to vote against further tax abatements. Attend next Monday's commissioners and council meeting to make your officials look you in the eye while they vote or against something that is going to affect your lives and your property values and possibly your health and the well-being of surrounding wildlife. The time to act is now. See if there's anything else. And that was it. So, since you asked me to read it, would you?
And I tell you, I'm appalled. I find it inexcusable that we had a county commissioner come in and threaten 4 of us council people. Me personally, physical, it was never stopped. Why wasn't a complaint issued about that subject? You're the council president. And you would be able to answer. I don't want you to answer.
But before we finish this, okay. So during that time, I was not in control of the meeting. In fact, I was speaking with, actually, I think the auditor might have been here. But I don't have jurisdiction over. Where you said he wasn't doing anything. I'm not throwing him out. I said I'm not throwing him out. But the meeting was not started.
Yes, it was. One of the 2 meetings.
We were not. I beg to differ. Irregardless in session.
Yeah.
When the police asked him to leave, and you said, no, he doesn't have to leave, that meeting was open this.
But irregardless, I'm so tired of this sour grape stuff. Now, I don't know who the 4 people are that Mr. Gorley's talking to. I've talked to a lot of different council people on a lot of different things.
Exactly.
I just simply say this, that answer it however is appropriate, but I want it added that I think there is a proponent of sour grapes against Cassie. And I don't always agree with Cassie, but I don't think one person ought to be picked at.
Yeah, I find it interesting. The Facebook post mentioned individual conversations among 4 different council people, that my name is the only name mentioned in the complaint. And it I think speaks volumes right there as far as it being targeted, because obviously this implicates 3 other council members.
Actually, I think you implicated them, Cassie. You're the one on your page said that 3 other council people agreed with you. So I don't know. Do you want, are you asking Kathy to tell you?
I think that there's a thing said on that side.
Just hold on.
On
We
implications.
talked about there's talk in that post about not voting for the solar, for the abatements. Well, guess what? We moved the hearing 2 months ahead of time. We did not stop it. So that has zero relevance to anything.
There were zero.
This is a big chart and it's getting old.
Sour grapes, always.
Hey, Dave, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Tony.
First thing I'm gonna say is, I'm telling you right now, I was not one of the ones contacted about that. But I can tell you something else, that's been bothering me about some of this stuff too, and I don't know that it's all sour grapes. I'm just gonna tell you straight where I look at it. It's just like when we did the appointment for the last park board. This man sat out there, I didn't know who he was, Howard didn't know who he was. I don't know if you knew who he was or not, but everybody else was all ready to put the guy in, and they did. But I just found it interesting to me that, it's just interesting, like, you know, the guy wouldn't even come forward, or if I hadn't asked the guy to come forward, I wouldn't even know who he is. And I do feel like that, you know, I think there is some sour grapes in a whole, you know, spectrum of it. Like there's sour grapes the way it was before and now it is now. And there is, but the fact that this public access counselor has mentioned this, I mean, they must see something with it.
He certainly mentioned it because the report was filed. He didn't look for it on his own.
And
Well,
besides,
regardless, wait,
Fight for the fire corps position.
let me finish. Regardless, if somebody points it out or not, if there's an issue with it, if somebody publicly says, me and 3 other people have talked separately not to, you know, to do this inappropriately, but yet they don't realize that you are doing it appropriately. If you're talking about the same thing with 4 different council people and you all come up to a conclusion, it's still wrong, Todd, whether it's pointed out or not. All I've been hearing is about his transparency.
And no, that is, every element has to be proven for it to be an illegal meeting. There was not a conversation
Well,
with.
I don't know. That was your post, Cassie, and I just appreciate just let me say what I gotta say, because I don't really care. I mean, it is what it is. But I will say, I am not one that they were talking about. I can promise you that. I haven't talked about any of that stuff, so it is what it is. But regardless, it was not me, but I do find some other things funny. If you watch the video, it kept saying, is that right, Cassie? What do you think, Cassie? Hey, Cassie. Hey, Cassie. It just seemed weird to me. It is what it is. You can deal with that. This is yours, not mine.
If you look at the camera, you can only see 3 people. If I'm looking down there, you don't know, nobody knows if I'm looking at Bruce or Howard or who I'm looking at. That's a cheap ass shot.
No, I was sitting there watching it.
It is a cheap ass shot, and you know it too.
Whatever.
I'm done talking about.
but I will say this about park board appointment. We did the same thing with the appointment prior to him, didn't we?
No, those people stood up and they introduced themselves.
Dave called and we
Called at the last minute.
Kathy immediately. So I don't see the problem.
Yeah, there was nobody else that applied for it, so it's not like we did something,
Well,
you know.
let me just outline this since you brought it up, Bruce, just so I can put some framework around it. Normally, if a special meeting is called by the president or the auditor.
Look at the law.
No, I'm just saying, yeah, that's what we did. Okay, so, I mean, obviously there was, when we sat down for that meeting, we can roll the footage for the next one. I didn't know we were gonna dig this deep. As soon as I opened that meeting, there was already motions to appoint him. Howard asked if we could actually table it so we could give the park board, who said they had only put their ad up for 2 weeks, chance to look for another candidate. And is that the truth?
No, because Mike said that.
Howard, did you not, Howard, did you not ask?
You can hold a minute. I put a motion on the floor that we table the appointment to the next meeting, and I did say something in reference to it would be beneficial to hear from the existing park board members, their opinion. Something in that nature. That's what I said.
I remember that. And then I believe that at least one of the park board members said that had never happened before. That they had never, their opinion hadn't been sought. I remember them responding that way.
It's the opinion of some of us on the county council that we're only privy to certain things and other things it's like it's just pushed over on us. And I just think that that needs to change and hopefully it will after the first year.
And I'll tell you the beauty of that meeting to elect the park board member was, it took 5-10 minutes and it was over with. Instead of we're talking about stuff that don't even concern us, which we would have been here for 2 hours more if we would have let that roll on. And that's what we need to do, is talk about our stuff and not other people's stuff, because there's nothing we can do about it and it doesn't matter. Plain and simple.
Okay, so back to the business at hand. Before I say does anybody else want to say anything else or bring anything else up that's germane to this discussion? So we owe the state a response.
Response, Justin Schramm, because since the entire council is named as the body being complained about, or the complaint was filed against, it seems like even though a few of the council members who want to castigate myself and a few other council members, I don't think they need to keep in mind that this response covers the entire council, not just myself that was named in the complaint, or 3 folks that I happened to chat with over the last year and a half.
So I'll ask again, so that way I can speak. Does anybody else have anything to say about this? Justin, I'm gonna because it is addressed to me as the president. And I'm gonna suggest that we say that we talked about this. We're moving on from it. We reviewed the law. Well, let me ask, does anybody have any lack of clarity about the law and what the Public Access Council, I mean, the Public Access Council sent us the letter because they obviously were concerned when they saw it also. That two state officials have looked at the filing and have concerns about it.
And I already talked to one of them and there is no concern about it. I've already spoken to one state.
All right, so guys, and then I'll go back to what I was gonna say.
No, you don't be insinuating stuff. It's not true. Because I talked to him and it's
I
not.
don't see how that was an insinuation,
Okay,
Todd.
all right, you're right, Dave, you're right.
No, I'm trying to finish this. That as a council, not as one person, as a council, we reviewed this. And we were gonna make an effort not to violate the open door law.
Absolutely.
And this was not a violation of the section regarding serial meetings, if you read the language about timeframes in which discussions need to occur. So we have a legal basis to rebut the allegation.
Thank you for that, but as far as our response, is that suitable if we say that we reviewed it? And we are gonna, to recognize our obligation to.
Rebut the allegation in the response. You need to rebut it.
4 council members want me to rebut the allegation as well, because that's kind of what I need to know. So let me back up a step too, because I think I had this discussion with several of you. First thing that happened, I got an email from Mr. Britt, sent me a copy of the complaint. He didn't give me a whole lot to go on. He just said, here's the allegation. I clarified with him. I said, is this seen as a complaint, commissioners versus council? Because obviously there's a conflict there. Or is this seen just as an investigation? He confirmed for me that it's just part of the investigatory process. So it's not council against commissioner, which may not be important for you guys, but I need to know for conflict purposes. So let's start there for baseline. But yeah, I need to know if, again, 4 of the 7 of you want me to go further than that. If you want me to rebut the allegation, which I don't really want to talk about how I'm going to rebut that in an open meeting. I think I've got several points. I may have talked to a few of you about those points. This was also potentially could have been discussed in an executive session, because as Mr. Britt told me, that this is, even though it's not litigation like you would typically see a litigatory process, he says it's still threatened litigation, quasi litigation, threatened in writing. So we could have it in executive. So a lot of what I'm talking about now, for my purposes, I get why you guys wanted to discuss it in an open forum, is more suited for an executive. So I don't mean to be particularly, like I'm trying to be vague, but I've got to be careful about what I say. But again, if 4 of you want me to rebut that, I think I have several points I can use to rebut the allegation. If you want me to do that.
I think as a council, we need to rebut it and not just say, oh, we'll try to do better and have that seen as some sort of an admission when no violation, according to my reading of the serial meeting portion, no violation occurred. Because if there were found to be some sort of violation, then it could lead to the complainant being Commissioner Mark Gorley going forward and filing something with the circuit court regarding things that occurred at our last meeting. So and we'll see if that, I mean, I don't know if a sitting commissioner has ever sued the council in our county before. That would, it might be a first, but we do have to think about that. So the allegation needs to be rebutted. By filing the complaint, he put himself in the position of our adversary.
He couldn't represent us.
Well, I'd have to conflict myself out.
Unless he got his own attorney.
Yeah, but he doesn't, he speaks as a commissioner, not he, that's kind of the thing here too, is he didn't have approval from the entire board. Not that it needs it from the entire board of commissioners, but the board has to act by quorum, just like you all have to. So I tried to clarify this again with the access counselor. My view of it is it's an individual who doesn't constitute the sitting quorum of the commissioners making an allegation. So I don't think I have to conflict myself out now. If it comes to the point where it's litigated, which whether is or is not, I have to conflict myself out. You know, what I can do, again, if 4 of the 7 of you want me to do this, is I can put together a response, email it to you all. My emails are exempted from public disclosure, so I can email it to you all as long as we don't start, you know, discussing via that email string and forum. You know, so I can get you a copy of it and you guys can tell me if you want to see anything change before I submit it. But my deadline is Friday. I've got an outline started based on some of what I've researched.
But it could turn into more, right? I mean, you just said earlier that basically the state was just, it was more like a warning that your discussion with them was that, you know, that.
So, and just to be candid, the acting counselor did say that he views it as, if it's a violation, he views it as a low-level violation. That's what Mr. Britt told me. He couldn't say it was a violation. He said, if the allegations are true, I would typically view this as a low-level violation.
Well, who would determine it if it's illegitimate?
I believe it's the access counselor.
And it would be based upon partially on our response, which is why we need to rebut the allegations.
I mean, I guess my thought is we definitely need to rebut it, but.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't need to rebut it admitting guilt for nothing. And just because that was filed, it doesn't matter if Mark Garley fired that or some guy on the street, they're gonna treat it the same way. So, correct?
That's my understanding.
Yeah, so it's not like just because we have to like get all scared because he's a commissioner, he did it. Anybody in the audience could file a complaint, it'd be the same level. I mean.
Right.
The idea of admitting guilt, but there's no guilt to be admitted. I mean, I don't see a problem with, I don't know what your rebuttal is, Justin, you don't have to tell me because I understand what you're saying. But along the line that we are aware of the complaint, we're all aware of the open door law. And I don't know what else you need to say. I don't want to say that, I don't want to say, well, we'll never do it again, because then that automatically says we did it.
Right.
Or we'll try to do better. That means we're not doing better.
Right.
Well, are we the only body that has ever asked one another what our opinions are on certain matters? I mean,
I'm sure.
I find it hard to believe that governmental bodies don't discuss one-on-one with their colleagues. And I think this went a lot further than what it needed.
I talk to Bruce every day.
Let me throw this to you, Bruce. So if you put it in writing on a social media, I'm just asking you this. If you put it in writing on a social media platform and it says 4 of us agree on something, you're saying that might not, like invite some level of accusatory activities? I mean, I don't understand the risk for us to say we're not.
My point,
Never came to pass.
my point is, we had a county commissioner walk right down the line and threaten each and every one of us, if you vote this way or if you vote that way.
That's right.
Now, Dave, what happened there is a lot more serious than what you're talking about, and nothing was done.
Then maybe you should file a complaint against me.
Well, I probably should, but you know what? I think I'm big boy enough that I could handle it. Evidently, Mark Gorley isn't.
Well, but I mean, okay, so
I do have a question. And I'm not one of the 4, I'm assuming. Who decides whether this is an they're making an accusation, correct? In this report, right?
Yes.
Who is the governing body? Who is the person that decides if this is a violation or just being accused of a violation? That's where my point is, who makes the decision, this is a violation or this is not a violation? That's my question.
Public access
It'd be the
counselor.
public access council.
And so why haven't they done that by now?
They're trying to give us an opportunity to respond.
Okay,
If there-
so
if there's
they want to hear.
They want to see if there's other information.
I
that we
understand,
have or
okay,
expectations.
that's,
Why couldn't our response be that, don't know what you're talking about? They can go back and look at that site. I've heard all of this for all summer. Oh, you can't believe this on that website. You can't believe that. You know, we cherry pick things, just to poke somebody in the eye, and I'm not willing to allow that to happen to any of my council members.
And by the way, it wasn't Rise Up Stark County, it was Stand Up.
It says rise up on the picture.
I see
I'm
rise
sorry, it says on the picture, it says rise up.
Somebody must have posted it, cross posted it.
Who's right?
He's talking, we can't hear him.
I will say, just to put this in perspective. I receive so many inquiries downstate, whether that be from the State Board of Accounts, whether that be from the Public Access Counselor, just, hey. Maybe there was not an allegation, but somebody called my office and most of the time it amounts to nothing almost ever because I'm able to explain it away. So, I'm not that I'm trying to downplay this or anything, but again, there are, at least on a monthly basis, there's somebody, a citizen in the public that says, I think something's going wrong here, and I provide documentation, whether that be the State Board of Accounts, legal division, or the Public Access Counselor himself. If I call him, he knows my cell phone number at this point. So again, I'm not trying to downplay it, but
I got you on speed up.
it won't be the last. It's just this one was put in written format and
I'll yield to Cassie. She's the one.
I guess
His name.
in my
I
mind, just
yield to her.
what Justin said. I mean, we hired him as our attorney.
Our ad-
He's gonna do what's in the right interest for us. I mean. I'm not admitting guilt to anything,
I'm not either.
but
Didn't do anything.
I understand he has to prepare a statement in which he should, because you should. Because they're asking for one, otherwise we will cause more problems.
sure.
And can it just be that we reviewed the open door law and everyone's aware on the council of the open door law, leave it and if the Public Access Council wants to go back against one or all of us, let them move forward. Can we say that we reviewed it and not admit any guilt?
It needs to be rebutted and it needs to be on the public record as a rebuttal. Because if it's not, somebody down the road is going to bring this up again, that we didn't rebut it and that they found against the council. We need to rebut it and we need to advocate for our position that there was no violation.
You guys rebut it now.
Yeah.
Isn't it on public record now that they're rebutting it?
Yes.
Like, why would we have to go through a big process of rebuttal? We have 1, 2, 3, 4 that rebutted. Well, I'm assuming they're the 4.
It's not a big process. It's a response to the Public Access Counselor, and in the written response, it would rebut the allegation in Mr. Gorley's complaint. It's not a big process. It's the same letter, only it will say something that advocates for the council instead of acting like we need to have our tail between our legs when we don't, because there was no violation.
Could we simply say that we reviewed it and the majority feels like we ought to rebut it? I mean, that's a response, isn't it?
We have to.
And then give us time for the rebuttal. That should open up time for the rebuttal.
I think I
window?
kind of agree with Cassie. I think it needs to be nipped in the bud.
I do too. I agree. It needs to be.
Again, I'm being purposely vague because unfortunately you're not given the ability to hide your responses. You just got. I've got about 3 things that I'm going to use, at least if you guys wanted it to rebut the presumption of guilt, or not the presumption of guilt. I'm sorry, the allegation of guilt. I was just waiting for your permission collectively to offer that response. I'll send it to all of you.
We should do that.
Before Friday, but it has to be submitted by Friday.
And we're gonna get something. Or I'm in violation too.
I think that's.
With me.
I mean, I don't know if we need a motion, Dave, or not, do we? I don't think we do we? Because we're talking about it right now.
I just want to make sure that if I filed a response and rebutted it, that I wasn't gonna have 7 people angry at me.
Probably wouldn't have 7, maybe just 4. Probably 3. I don't
I
get,
wished I had your tech, Mr. Shank.
yeah.
Motion to write them on in as an advocate for the council and defending the council that the violation didn't occur and rebutting the allegation, then I will make that motion.
I mean, that's what you're doing, right? I'll second that.
Okay, that's fine. We'll go with the motion. All right, all those in favor, aye?
I,
Is there any opposed?
Thank you all.
Well, you guys don't mind if we have a lot of people here, you guys don't mind if we hear what the public has to say, do you? All right, let's start with, Mike, I think no, Nick's in the back row, so we'll start with the back row. Does anybody have anything? I'm just gonna keep moving my pen around the rows to see if anybody raises a hand. Go ahead, Mike.
I was coming here for the agenda to hear more on the battery storage part, but I guess we're not doing that today.
It's gonna be in the commissioner meeting.
Why was it even on the agenda then?
that's a very good
Good
question.
Question.
That's a
I
good
mean, who
question.
writes up the agenda, who approves the agenda?
I
I
didn't,
took off out of the fields today to be here.
I didn't add it, I didn't enter it, it's not our business. Plain simple.
Well, originally the commissioners didn't have a meeting set up after us, and so I think it was part of the time sequence that, people wanted to hear it. We apologize.
The only other thing is you put a meeting in December and you're getting close to Christmas parties and all that going on when people's busy. I would think November would have been better for your open public meeting. but
We,
that's
we,
just-
we are having,
We
we
are
are
having
having
one.
one in November
Yeah.
for Hoosier.
Right,
But we scheduled that 2 months after we brought it, so we have time to look at it.
why was that, well, not the past council meeting, but the one before that? And.
The last
it was
council meeting.
approved, And
The
when
last
this
council
got
meeting.
tabled, and they were told to come back with information, they come back with information and we don't
We never,
discuss nothing.
we didn't even talk to Nexter at the last meeting.
We never.
No,
They never
the council
talked to
meeting
us.
asked. I said council,
Oh, no, this is the council.
This is a council.
commissioner. meeting,
Hold
sorry.
on. What they do has nothing to do with, that's not, we're not intertwined. They have their own agenda and their own reason and purpose. We have no control over what they do. As such, they have no control over what we do.
So we shouldn't, next era.
No, it never should have been, it never should have been on there. You're absolutely correct. And that's why I brought up point of order. Because it shouldn't have been on there. Because it has nothing to do with the council. Plain and simple.
That should be crossed off before it even.
I agree. I'm not arguing with you.
Okay.
But just going back to what I read, though, it did say, tell your commissioners and council on that post.
I never even read it, to be honest with you, because I.
Right, well, you just had me read it though, and it said,
I know.
to see the council. and
Next era was one of the
commissioners
first
about
solar
the EDA.
companies that's been dealing with Starke County all along.
No, man.
And we're still waiting. 5 years down the road, we're still waiting to get stuff approved.
This
Thank you, Mike.
is the first time they came in front of us for this EDA. Am I right?
For Duns too.
Yeah. This is the first time. It hasn't been 5 years. It's been,
Well, we already got one part built.
that was a total different one. That was a total, that's
That
not.
was
what we-
phase 2.
Yeah, that was
This is
phase one.
3 that we're working on now.
Yeah, so this is the first they ever came to us to talk to about that, was today. The first time. Am I right?
Came here to talk today and they got,
They got to talk about their EDA, and we put it on for December's meeting for the public hearing.
Thank you, Mike. I'm just gonna keep on going. Nobody? Oscar? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second from Kay.
Hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry, no, yeah, we just have to sign here. I have before me the motion or the meeting minutes from September 16th. Looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve. And this is November 16th.
Have a motion from Todd. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Thank you, Tony.
Any other motion?
I'll wait that one back up.
Could you pass the purple pen
Yes,
back
sir.
to my friend?
Yeah.
You gotta sign.
He'll use.
I'm gonna
he
use
wants to
one.
use- I don't know. Okay.
It's gonna be on film.
You have to really.
Let's stop by and see my new project. I don't think it's a controversial.
I understand.
Feel that strong.
Okay.
I understand. We gotta get back to a functioning board.
Hey, let me use that.
Oh, sure.
So, please. So, I guess mine.
I'm sorry,
Was.
if you guys have signed, we had a motion and a second to adjourn, I'm still good with that?
Yep.
All those in favor, aye. Any opposed? Thank you, sir.